What's up guys, it's me Lori and I am back from California. I was out there for a couple weeks. I was in LA and San Francisco, met up with some really interesting people because the purpose of my trip was to do some reporting and interview people who have some insights on innovation and business when it comes to sex. Today's video is just actually going to be some audio excerpts from an interview that I had with Shan Boody, aka Shan Boodram. She's a sexologist and sex educator and a YouTuber, and she's just all around fabulous and awesome. I follow her channel, you guys should too. It's audio only because I actually wasn't planning on making it a video. I was just going to interview her for the purposes of research, and because it was so interesting, I thought, you know what, I should share some of this with you guys at least. And the other cool thing I want to let you know about is that while I was there, I also got a chance to be in one of her videos, which was a really interesting discussion about casual sex and women who are down for it.
I don't draw lines. Like, it's not casual sex, it's just sex. And it could become a relationship, but maybe it won't. And it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Calling it casual sex almost gives the other kind of sex something, you know,
a negative
connotation.
it others it, and it's really just sex at the end of the day.
It's an interesting topic to me because it's one of those things where, as a sex positive person, I am aware that there is a lot of stigma and there is a lot of pressure for women not to be outspoken about embracing casual sex, and there is a lot of shaming and stuff like that, as you guys are probably all well aware. But anyway, I think it's super interesting to have had a group of women all representing different age groups come together and talk about something that, you know, we frequently don't get to talk about as openly maybe with our friends because people don't always agree about this issue. You know, sex is a very personal thing. Everybody has their own viewpoints on it and everybody's entitled to their own viewpoints on it. Shannon really came up with an awesome sort of space for us to talk about that, and I thought it was cool. So after you watch this video where you can hear a little bit about her history and how she became a sexologist and a sex educator and why she devoted her career to the subject, definitely go and check out the link below to see her video and let me know what you think about that too. Anyway, without further ado, here's my interview with Shannon, and I hope you guys enjoy. As you started this, how did you decide to like turn it into like a personal business and a personal brand?
Honestly, I think from the very beginning, so my book Laid, which is sitting right there right now, I was in school for journalism, and day one of journalism school, they say write what you know. So if you love Britney Spears, don't worry about like trying to become more political, write about Britney Spears. And like if you love politics, write about politics. And I was like, I think I know fucking, you know what I mean? Like for lack of a better term, I'm like, I think I know this really well. And I saw a niche for there being somebody who was younger who brought the voice of reason. And I had recently gone through like a massive sex education process where like I'd spend an entire summer in the library just reading books because I had had such a shitty teen sex life. And so I immediately thought like there's nobody else doing this. I think the start of any good business is like identifying the niche, and so that's what I did at first. I had known the business skills, and so it took me a long time to like get to a place where I'm doing well. So but the niche and the idea was there from the beginning.
What prompted you to do that self-study? Actually, I'm curious.
Super shitty teen sex, you know. Just like I think I was somebody who was always very sexually precocious, like from a young age, and I went to a Catholic school and I was called like lewd a lot at home. Like that's my parents' fault, but like I feel like a lot of my natural expression for sexuality was suppressed a lot and shamed, and then when you don't feel comfortable with something that's a natural part of you, you usually find deviant outlets for that thing. And so I found deviant outlets in porn, I found deviant outlets in like non-satisfying relationships, and I think by the time I was 19 I had like 6 or 7 partners, 0 orgasms. You know, I had a non-consensual experience and it happened to me. I had just it was just pretty much like a textbook really bad teen sex life that left me feeling very low about myself.
And had you had any educational resources? Like, did you have sex ed at Catholic school and everything? Or
I mean,
no?
Catholic school sex ed is what you think it would be. It's basically abstinence, and then like what they do is like, you know, it's I made this video for CBC recently, and I was like, contrary to popular belief, people don't have sex because they want a green penis or a baby before their time, which is how they pitch it almost. Like the only reason you would have sex is if you're trying to self-sabotage. Like if you're not trying to self-sabotage, why would you do this? And then you're like, are we forgetting the whole pleasure, intimacy, connection, like the positive feelings? Like absolutely. The only thing that you're taught in school is the reason you would have sex is to self-sabotage. Like that's just so far from the truth. So it took me taking the reins on myself and saying, okay, there has to be more to it than this. In 2015, I got a show for MTV. I auditioned for that for like 5 months of like second round, third round, fourth round. Finally got it, shot it. It felt like a dream come true. And then sure enough, it didn't get picked up. And I was like, how the fuck about YouTube? you know, a place where what I do actually gets seen by people,
Right.
a place where like I get to define my voice, and like I don't have to wait for someone else to say like it's okay to go out there.
Yeah.
And so I restarted doing YouTube in 2015, and honestly, like that was probably in September.
Yeah.
And like it's been amazing since then.
Yeah.
And that really gave me like, okay, that put things together, because now I could share my story in a way and people could see and understand it, because like I consider myself to be the Walmart greeter of sex ed.
Yes, I saw an interview where you said that. I love that.
It's like that. Like I'm not at the back aisle and like foot fetishes where I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, here's what lube to use between the toes. Like
Right.
I'm not the person that, because that person, while they have a great value to the average person, maybe that's too much, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to be the person who's like, can I make sex inviting no matter where you are, no matter what your comfort level is? And people didn't understand that, but doing the YouTube channel, they're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, a bit more.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to approach sexuality. There's so many ways to start this discussion. And that's really what I think my life's work has been. Like, whether it be via makeup, I intertwine sexuality into that. Like, there's so many areas that, to me, sexual empowerment, confidence, and knowledge can really apply and make an impact. And it's not just in like the most obvious way. I mean, there's a channel that I know called My Tiny Secrets, and I play on the line a lot, and it's like a choice. It's a tricky place to be, because if I went less sexual, I might get a bigger audience, and if I went more sexual, I might get a bigger audience. So My Tiny Secrets does like how to squirt, and it's a thumbnail of her like holding her crotch and like water spraying everywhere. That video gets 1 million views. You know, like 10 ways to orgasm, and her like with this expression of ecstasy on her face. You know what
But
I mean?
it'll turn off a lot of people.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to redefine a new place in the middle where you can say like, hey, I'm an average person and it's okay, and I'm sexual and I love it, and it supports a lot of areas of my life, and I'm not an evil person, or I'm not a freak, and I'm just like you know, come join me.
Yeah. And do you feel like there is a big market in that middle ground?
I think it emerges, yeah. I think it's the beautiful thing, you know, even tattoos, for example, where it's like, you know, 10 years ago you had to cover them up constantly. Now it's like we can admit that people have tattoos. Like, you know, before, if you had one drinking photo on Facebook, you couldn't run for politics. And now it's like, we get it. You know, people are multidimensional.
Yeah.
They're not just one-sided. So I think that emergence of the acceptance of people as total human beings, and not just as like professionals or as daughters or mothers, like we're accepting the fact that like, yeah, as a parent, you're going to see sides of your kid that before you wouldn't have access to, and you have to give them the space to do that. And sexuality is a part of that. It may be like a little bit further behind in terms of comfort, but it's coming.
I posted that video that you did when you first talked about it, like going on the show, and like the strong response you got. It was so surprisingly negative.
Yeah.
Which is really weird to me, because the message to me, I don't know if I interpreted it right, but to me the video was about like, no one can really know how you feel about your relationship if they're not you. So there's no point in judging anyone for how they decide to like do what they do.
Yeah.
And I just don't see how there's anything possibly negative about that message,
exactly.
you know?
It's fear. It's fear that you're giving permission for other people to do this.
Okay.
And because you're afraid of this happening to you, and like you're not ready for that mindset, that like normalizing something that deeply makes you feel fearful, you attack because you want to shut that idea down. And it's like, I get it. It's like whenever people have a response to anything that doesn't match the stimulus, I'm always like, oh, this has nothing to do with me. You know, like you say something like, oh, how's your day? It's fine. What are you asking me for? And you're like, oh, that had nothing to do with me. You know, an hour ago something happened to you, and now you're taking that out on me in that way. And so I definitely like have learned to look at those responses like that.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me because it's like, you know, I've spent so many hours. There's so many books and podcasts and scholastic hours that I've spent, and yet still you guys have the nerve to like question that I don't know what I'm doing for myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not as if like I've never tried it, or I don't know anything about it. I'm just like throwing myself into the wind. Like, I've researched and studied and understood and had so many conversations. So please understand, when I make a decision, it's a measured choice.
Right.
It's not coming out of a place of insecurity or like me trying to destroy the female sex.
Right.
So it's, that to me is like, some people say that whenever you respond to negativity is because it's true. And really it's the opposite for me. When it's just so ridiculously untrue, when someone calls me an insecure, pitiful woman who's just trying to please men, or I'm afraid of losing my partner, so I'm giving him some kind of out. And my favorite is people who are like, one day he's gonna find another woman, you know, who's better than you, and then you're gonna like have to like eat your words. I'm like, who's this woman? I talk about sex for a living. Like, I'm fucking bomb. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to live my life in fear of losing to somebody else, because I've done the work on myself. But like,
and it's also just a messed up mentality to think that
even that you need to justify your personal choice by saying like, I have done this research, so I have a right to make the choice. Like, you have a right to make the choice anyway. It's what's right for you in the moment. You also are free to decide 3 years down the line if you change your mind. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Of all the things that you talk about, did you think that this was going to be like...
Yeah, it's like, and it's funny because Jared had said, like, there's a thing about, because our relationship is like, it's like, open is a beautiful word that I enjoy, but may not represent what people think in a stereotypical way. And so, you know, we generally have like a pretty like standard relationship, except for the fact that like there's a mental space there. But he and I are both low novelty seekers. Like, we're not people who are like, we need to, you know, go out every night, we need to do this. And so on the flip side, we're not like driven by new partners constantly. And so I think the open side of our relationship may come out once every 5 years or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I've experienced it. He has not experienced it yet at this point. And so it's like, I purposefully do it. I know it's going to cause a lot of like fear, anxiety, conversation, discussion. And even though like, I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I knew that it would be like that.
That's the thing that people feel most threatened about, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's just like, it's the permission to cheat. And I think, you know, to a degree, women feel like, you know, when marriage first existed, it was... men were still allowed to have other wives, and then it changed to only one wife, but they could have mistresses, and then it changed to like nobody at all, and like that felt like a victory for women, you know. And mind you, the stats on cheating is 60-40. It's not you know, completely off, but that like closed idea that like no one is allowed to like anybody else felt like a victory. And so I think anything that contradicts that is like a big like, oh, we're going backwards. It's like, no, you got to go there too.
Yeah.
You know, it only works if both people are engaged. Because like my pet peeve is like men who are like, oh man, like they want to step out, but they can't imagine their girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, then you know how I feel on the flip side. If you don't know how to control or maintain your own emotions, how do you expect your partner to do the same?
Exactly. Because I think it's just the feeling of ownership. Like, for men who feel that way, they feel that the woman is their woman, but that they are not owned by their woman or whatever. So
that's a perfect way of putting it.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you guys in the next video, whether it's another interview, which I do have one more to post, or I will do another episode of Sex in the News, as I will continue updating you guys on what's new in the world of sex. Thanks a lot for watching. Welcome to the new subscribers who found me through Shan's video. I really am so happy that you took the time to check out my content, and I hope to hear from you too. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.